The Least of These. This movie is based on the life and work of Australian missionary Dr. Graham Staines. Actor Stephen Baldwin portrays Dr. Staines in this heartfelt movie. TopPick Media caught up with Stephen Baldwin in this exclusive interview where he shares more about the movie, his experience, and working with co-stars Sharman Joshi and Shari Rigby. The film is being launched by Dallas-based Skypass Entertainment and is set to release on February 1st, which coincides with the 20th anniversary of the tragic event that shocked the world. Karuna Pai with TopPick Media brings to you Stephen Baldwin in candid conversation about The Least of These. I would like to welcome actor, producer, and author Mr. Stephen Baldwin, who is no stranger to Hollywood and in the entertainment industry. Thank you again, Mr. Stephen Baldwin, for joining us on the call with TopPick Media. We really appreciate your time with us. First off, how are you doing?
Doing okay. I'm running very, very fast from interview to interview for this wonderful movie, and it's lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much again. TopPick Media is excited to talk to you and hear about your work in the soon-to-release movie, The Least of These, which is based on the powerful true story of Australian missionary Dr. Graham Staines. So, Stephen, in this movie, you play the role of Dr. Graham Staines. Can you share some insight into Dr. Staines and what went through your mind when you were approached to portray this role?
Well, yes, Dr. Graham Staines is a missionary who felt quite humbly a very simple calling to India to be of service to those suffering from the physical disorder of leprosy. He also did that with the understanding that there was the reality of those people being healed, et cetera, et cetera. Simultaneously, he was a Christian. So in India at the time, to openly kind of try to preach that to others is illegal. So it is okay if you are working a medical clinic and this and that, and to share your faith with those if somebody asks you to do so. That's kind of the stage, so to speak. Unfortunately, in 1999, there were some radical individuals that determined in their own judgment that Graham Staines was really using the medical reality just as a reason or an excuse to really be trying to convert people to Christianity. Those radicals took it upon themselves to murder Dr. Staines along with his 10 and 7-year-old son in 1999. It was a global tragedy, unfortunate, obviously. But interestingly enough, this film, now titled The Least of These, you have to go to the leastofthese.movie. It's not .com, it's leastofthese.movie.
Okay.
There you can watch the trailer and you can see the theaters to see it, and everything is there. But the shockwave that about this incident that really went throughout India and around the world was, it's interesting. Because if you're a mother or a father or a sister or a brother, or you have a niece or a nephew, and you hear about something like this, the horror of how these people lost their lives, it really is, in my understanding, it really is something that kind of connects us all,
True.
So, yes, this is a very powerful, very dramatic telling of the testimony of the life of Dr. Graham Staines and the ultimate sacrifice he made. And it's starring Sharman Joshi, who, in my opinion, quite possibly will win many awards for his performance in this film. I mean that. He literally really was of the skill set as an artist to carry this film with great boldness, and it was a pleasure to work with him.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. We're definitely looking forward to watching this movie. In what ways did playing this powerful and transformational role of Staines impact you personally?
Well, Graham Staines was one of these born-again Christians who walked the quiet walk. There's all different types of individuals and functions in ministry and things like that. But this guy chose to just go over and, very simply and humbly and quietly serve the way he did. It's depicted in the film. It really does come across almost mysterious to a sense. He must have been odd to some people in India. He wasn't afraid to deal with lepers, things like that.
True.
But that being said, I think the thing that was most interesting for me was I'm quite the opposite of Graham Staines. I'm a skydiver, and
wow.
I do kinds of adrenaline junkie kind of things. I don't think Dr. Graham Staines was much of an extreme sports enthusiast, so to speak. But that's the thing that really was most interesting for me as an actor and a performer. It was kind of cool for me to watch film of him and pictures and hear stories and do some research. I never met his family.
Okay.
But because I got enough of a sense to know with this ensemble cast, Shari Rigby is so wonderful as Gladys Staines. And for me, it was understanding playing him within this story and this ensemble as, I guess you could call it subtly, as I did. I just felt that was the most important thing to share about who Graham was. He was a very serving-hearted person. It wasn't about him. He didn't want it to be about him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that is really powerful. That selflessness and the courage and to love. That's very powerful. This movie was shot in India. Do you have any memorable incident that took place in India that you can share with us?
Interesting question. I think other than what I've shared with people when they ask me of my experience during the film, and I'm kind of not just saying this, I'm a people person, so I like to, when I get in certain environments, I like to just study the people. And I think being 70 miles outside of Hyderabad in the countryside, I think it was the people for me that were the most charming and meaningful. There were a couple of incidents where a high-ranking official in the production, that's the quote. Mm-hmm. So no one can ever be identified. A high-ranking official within the production had an experience driving to location because driving at night, you know how the traffic is when you get in certain areas.
Correct.
This person relieves themselves of their lunch, so to speak. I don't know what the Indian expression for that is, but that was rather memorable. But I have to keep that kind of anonymous, so to speak.
That's funny. How did you have to prepare for the role? You said, in person you are completely the opposite. So did you have to do anything differently to prepare for the role?
Well, pardon me. Actually, yes, because if you think about it, let's say you have a friend who's a girlfriend of yours or whoever, but they're a little more hyper than you. So they move more like a hyper person. So that would be similar to describing me. I wouldn't say I'm completely hyper. My wife would say, "Are you kidding me? You're out of your mind." But, kudos to her. But I say that just because, if you think about playing a person who's more kind of quiet and this, it kind of was subconsciously would be something to consider in your movement, in your behavior. Do you move fast or do you move slow? And so, there was a little bit of a choice and a deliberacy, if that's a word, a deliberateness, so to speak, to how I chose to play him and how he moved. Things like that. He moved a little slower and listened a little longer. And you know what I mean? He was just a little bit more calm.
Okay. There's a special Fathom event happening on January 31st. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I think that there is enough of an audience out there globally of Christian missionaries that know this story about Graham Staines very well. So I think in order to create an opportunity where maybe some folks won't be able to get to theaters in time, they're creating a one-night-only kind of sneak preview on Fathom the night before the film opens in the U.S. on February 1st. So January 31st is a Fathom event. Anybody can, again, go to leastofthese.movie. All the information is there, not .com. It's leastofthese.movie. And, there's a fun Fathom event, January 31st.
Great. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. In closing, we would appreciate if you can share your wishes with our viewers and readers of TopPick Media.
Oh, absolutely. This film is motivated to honor the legacy of this man who unfortunately lost his life, like it might happen anywhere in the world, truly. It's a random act of unnecessary judgment, but it doesn't mean that people shouldn't know the story, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't honor the lives of those lost, is really how I feel about it. And those two young boys, you know what? If hearing their story 20 years later means something to anybody who's a parent or a brother or a sister, you know what I mean?
Correct, yeah.
It's a wonderful film. It's beautifully made. It's in a beautiful place. It's very compelling. Because, after this all happened, the wife of Graham Staines, Gladys, came out of her house where they lived, and of course all the media of India stood in front of her. And one of the first things she said was, "We just want the world to know we forgive the people who have done this."
That's amazing, yeah.
And, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what you believe. This is just a compelling story of great faith that honored a very humble man. So we hope all of India will come out and see the film. But equally as important, in my opinion, is we honor the legacy of Graham Staines, but Sharman Joshi is unequivocally one of the greatest talents in all of India, and people should come see him too.
Great. Definitely looking forward to the release on February 1st. Thank you again, Mr. Stephen Baldwin. TopPick Media wishes you well, and we're definitely looking forward to watching the movie The Least of These and the message of love, selflessness, courage, and forgiveness. Thank you.
And what you do is good?
Truth always seems to cost something.